My name's Michael Norton. I'm 51 years of age, originally born in Merseyside. I'm sure you can guess from my accent.
My name's Joy. I'm 43. I've got 2 children and I'm a pharmacist.
I'm Lynn. I'm a vocational advisor.
I'm Kim. I'm aged somewhere between 21 and 40. I've been married for nearly 9 years and have no children. By choice. I have 3 jobs, working very happily.
My name's George Falling. I came to work for Workways in 2005 as a vocational coach. Previous to that, I used to work in retail and hopefully thought I could bring those skills to my job.
Most of my career I've worked as an occupational therapist, and I've been working in both inpatient and community settings here in Exeter and in mid-Devon.
I was the complaints manager at the local hospital, dealing with all medical complaints.
I work as a senior pharmacist within the NHS. One of my main roles and responsibilities was working with controlled drugs and quite a lot around regulation of controlled drugs.
I worked for the benefit agency. I was a district training officer, and that was up until about 2001. And that was sort of when I became unwell.
I had a considerable workload, which was being added to more and more. And I thought I could cope and carried on working. And then I was meant to have some staff to help me. And because of the financial situation of the NHS and where I worked, I wasn't able to recruit staff.
I had a very good attendance record, but once I was diagnosed with this problem, then I was signed off work for just under 4 months.
So my job just became completely unmanageable, and I made an appointment to see my line manager and talk through my concerns with her. But the following day I went to see my GP, and my GP signed me off with exhaustion and work-related stress. And that was really the beginning of my story.
I suppose sort of slumping to the floor as a crying, gibbering wreck was a bit of a clue.
I actually went back to work too early. And I think that's down to the fact that there was still a part of me that refused to accept that there was anything wrong with me.
I ended up being signed off work for over a year.
Because I wouldn't go on public transport, didn't socialise much, wouldn't go to anywhere new. It was kind of well known in my friends that if we were all going out for the night, I'd very often turn up at the door, then just turn round and go home. And I found out now it's to the extent where they'd all make other plans because they knew I wouldn't turn up, but they'd invite me anyway and have like a plan B.
I think one of the issues I had at first was that I felt quite isolated. I didn't go out much. I stayed in the house. I was very lucky. I had a very loving and supportive family, but I still felt isolated. I didn't like to talk about how I felt.
But then at night I was having sort of nightmares and flashbacks to stuff that happened when I was a kid. Woke up with my arms bleeding, where I'd sort of dug my nails in so tight in the night, couldn't eat, didn't want to leave the house, and just stopped functioning really.
And I think I'd always felt that in my life that whatever situation I'd been in, I could cope. But with this situation, I couldn't actually see a way out, and I was feeling really anxious.
And just got obsessed with time. I had this weird logic that the later I got up, the sooner it would be lunchtime, and then the later I ate my dinner, the shorter my day would be, and the later I went to bed. And I just got obsessed with trying to make time shorter until he'd come back.
I didn't actually have any routine in my life anymore, and apart from my children, who I had to get up for, I could see that very quickly I was going to get out of routine of actually getting up and having any purpose to my day.
Because I couldn't function, I couldn't go to work at all. He came back from where he was working and everything's sort of levelled out. Then he had to go away again and it cropped up again. So that's when I thought, this is something I need to go and sort out, because it's not very healthy. You know, I could avoid going away from home. I didn't like being away from home, but I couldn't expect him to put his life on hold. So that's when I got in touch with mental health services and went for some counselling.
In fact, I was in denial for a long time. I didn't think that there was anything wrong with me, even though there clearly was. Specifically, I had a panic attack when I was doing some shopping. I can still remember it very vividly, getting very anxious and having to leave the shop. And when I went to the doctor told me that she thought I was suffering from stress and depression.
And so I knew that I needed to accept whatever support and help was being offered to me. So I was referred to Workways and didn't really know what that would involve and what that would look like.
So we have an application form that is quite straightforward, simply two-sided, and we ask people to just describe a little bit about their mental health condition, and really have tick boxes, so they've got a variety of choices to say what are the sort of areas they'd like to have help in.
We're there to do the initial contact with clients over the phone when we receive their application form, and then to lead an initial appointment here at Workways, where we get the opportunity to talk to the individual about their past work and learning experiences, to talk very much about their aspirations, where they would like to head, and to also talk about the impact of mental health and what impact that's had on their work and learning opportunities.
I'd made a list of all the things that I wanted to talk about and what my problems were, but I think I actually cried for pretty much the whole appointment, because it was really difficult to go back and revisit what had actually happened to me.
We've always said that as a team, that it is better if it comes from the individual and it's a true reflection of what they want to do, not what somebody's telling them they should do.
I think what I found helpful is the first thing for me was a level of acceptance. Once I stopped fighting against what was clearly wrong with me and being able to open up and talk to people about how I felt.
The vocational advisor, whose name is Lynn, really sort of helped me tease out what the issues were and helped me then go back and talk to my employer about what those issues were as well, because I think because I'd been suffering from stress and anxiety, it was very difficult for me to put into words what had actually happened and what needed to be put right so that eventually I would be able to recover.
Well, my role as a vocational coach is to support somebody, so it's very much the hands-on things, like as an example, taking somebody to a meeting and acting as an icebreaker if they're meeting somebody for the first time.
A vocational advisor would oversee any work that the vocational coach is doing with the individual, and would offer perhaps additional advice and guidance if necessary.
Lynn was able to tell me about the site which is just outside of Exeter, called New Leaf.
And that offers practical work experience in sort of a real work environment.
The site is just absolutely fantastic. It's a really beautiful spot which is outside of Exeter, and it's up on a hillside with views down over the River Exe Valley, and that in itself is quite therapeutic, just to be somewhere which has got beautiful views.
For example, they can go out there and get an NVQ in horticulture. They can also gain practical experience, which is fantastic on a CV. They can build stamina. So people are expected to be there sort of from 9 in the morning till about 3 o'clock in the afternoon, with breaks and lunch provided. But it's really to get people back into a work-based routine, but in a more supportive environment.
Where you had a structured day, but it wasn't too pressured, and so the balance was absolutely perfect, and all really lovely people there as well who understood where life was for you, and that didn't matter. If you were having a bad day, you were allowed to have a bad day, and that was fine.
But attending Workways, and certainly the Workways support group, I realised that there was a lot of people in my position and also meeting people that were in different stages of the mental health problems, I realised that there was light at the end of the tunnel.
Now that I'm working still part-time, I'm going to be stopping going to New Leaf soon, so that will be another transition, but it will be a really positive transition, and I will be sad to leave, because it's been a really helpful source of support, but that's all part of the process of making a really good recovery in a positive way, so it's a positive step. Even though it feels a bit sad, it's sad in a good way.
You spend time really thinking about yourself and getting to know yourself in ways that other people maybe don't. So I'm aware of sort of my triggers and my stressors now. So in a workplace, I'll know if things are getting a bit much and be able to do something about it.
A lot better, I feel a lot more relaxed.
I've just met some fabulous people, really great sense of humour. If I hadn't had a mental health problem, I'd probably never have dropped out of university, which meant I would probably never have met my husband.
And I remember Christine, my better half, saying to me that I always seem to be on edge, ready to explode, so to speak. But now, she said, it's like being with a different person. And I do feel a lot more relaxed and a lot more focused on life itself, rather than work and what's that expression, all work and no play makes Michael a very angry boy.
And Workways really helped tease out what the issues were, and supported me in what were some really difficult meetings with my employer.
A recent person I was working with has got into a voluntary position outside of the NHS, which is a huge step, and is really doing well. They're volunteering every week. They attend every week. They're always on time. The person always keeps us in touch with how they're doing.
I think it's made me a more considerate person, has definitely made me much more aware of my own well-being, and also when other people are having difficulties as well, it's made me a lot more aware of what their difficulties might be and help me relate to other people in a much more positive way.
And now that's happened to me, I've become a lot more aware and a lot more understanding and patient now. And it's not just with mental health issues, it's with a lot of other issues as well.
My life's really different to how it was. I've agreed a phased return to work, so I have recently returned to work on a part-time basis.
Certainly wouldn't be working in mental health services. I'm probably stuck in the civil service somewhere, being thoroughly miserable. So in a weird kind of way, I'm not happy that I had a mental health problem, but I'm very happy on the path that it's taken me now. I wouldn't want my life to be any different now.
And the person has really come a long way, and is now, I think, just beginning to realise how well they've done and really believe in themselves. So, yeah, to see that happen, it's really, really rewarding.
I kind of hope I've got like a normal face and personality, and maybe not the media stereotype of someone with a mental health problem. And when I do training, I don't always come out and say that I've had a mental health problem, but sometimes when people are stereotyping, it's really helpful just to kind of cut them down and sort of say, well, it happened to me. And if you just think about life with, you know, grief, bereavement, disappointment, redundancy, the odds are it's going to hit somebody at some point.
Currently, approximately 1 in 4 people at this time will be experiencing mental health difficulties. 1 in 6 of those will be severe and long-term mental health problems. So it's very likely that in your place of work, in your family, in your group of friends, you're going to know someone who's experienced or is experiencing mental health problems.
I think my advice from my own experience would be, don't fight the inevitable. If you deep down know that you have a problem, it's nothing to be ashamed of. There are support groups out there, there are people who do care about how you feel. if you can talk about how you feel, if you can meet with other people, and the best way to do that is through Workways, and learn from their experiences, it will make you feel better in the long run.
Be really open-minded and give it a try, because what's the worst thing that's going to happen? There isn't anything, you know, that's going to be bad about giving it a try. You'll only decide whether it is the right thing for you, in which case, you know, you'll be develop a good working relationship with them, really. And if it's not the right thing for you, then that's fine as well. But if you don't open up and make contact, then you'll never know. And for me, it's been one of the best sources of support that I've had.